Let's now start the SQL sessions. So we'll be using the SQL developer. So we already have the database, which is there in the autonomous database in the Oracle cloud, and have showed you how to connect through the SQL developer. So now we'll get started with the SQL part. So I have opened up and we'll be using this one, the workshop for which I have created the connections. So if you double click on this, you need to give the password. So yeah, so now it is got connected, and you can look at the other users, and DB user is what I have we created using the Oracle Apex, and then we installed all the OEHR tables. So it's all here. You'll be able to see it over here, and yeah, you can use this tool to even look at the data structure as how the tables are linked with each other. So for that, get into the data modeler, get into the import, and data dictionary is where you need to get on. So here it is. So go to this one, select which one you want. So next is next, and this should give all the schema names. So I'll be using DB user is what we need to have, and we need to have all the tables associated with that. So we'll say OE countries, customer, except department and employee, which is not related. There'll not be any join condition with that, so we don't really need that. So apart from that, we got to have all others, which is OEHR, and so 15 tables. So finish. So it generates the database design. It is pulling back all the join conditions, and it presents you with the details. So close this, and then you can see how it is related, particularly like OEHR employees as a relationship with the department. And yeah, we'll get into the concept of primary keys and foreign keys as well. So here, if you look at it, the department key, that is the foreign key, FK, is with the department ID. And if you look at the department ID, you have a primary key, which is in the department table. That is the department ID, and it refers to the department ID as the foreign keys. And similarly, the job IDs with the job table is what is the foreign key as of OE employees. So you can analyze, go through it, particularly after having a good understanding as what is a primary key relationship, what is the foreign key relationship, after going through my lecture, or if you already have a knowledge, this will give you a background as how the tables are joined, so that particularly when you execute a query, which is by joining tables, this big picture will be highly useful. You can very well zoom in and zoom out, particularly if you want to see by the size. There is a top icon for zooming in and zooming out. So you can use this to zoom in, zoom out as how the data structure is there in the database. That is, the table data structure is there in the database. Thank you. Stay tuned. Let's now run simple queries. Just to have a look and feel as how the SQL developer works, particularly with after we have installed all the HR schema related objects meaning the tables and the associated information. So this is a basic query, select star from when you want to retrieve all the columns in that particular table, then you use it. Select star from, this is a schema name, the DB user is a schema name, and OEHR employees. So it returns all the details of that particular table, so which means it has about 107 rows in it, distinct rows. All the employees and their associated details are available in this table. And then yes, you can also restrict it. Suppose particularly if you want to know information about a particular employee, say employee ID, say let's say ID equal to maybe you want 105, which is David, so then you do 105 and it can give you all the information which is related to 105 David. Suppose if you want to restrict, I just want to know salary of this person, so maybe we'll say last name and comma salary of that person, then yeah, we just restrict to that. So whoever is 105, it is supposed to give the last name and the salary of that person. You can also, if you want, you can also include the employee ID of that person. So whatever you wish to have, or whatever the requirement is for that query, you can have those columns. This is again a point to note here is just a single table. We are retrieving the data based on the where condition, where in the sense we are filtering the data, even though there are in the table we saw that more than I think 100 plus data is there. We are just filtering the data, and we are just having particularly one data whose employee ID need to be unique. You cannot have employee ID, multiple employee ID, multiple in the sense for one employee ID you can't have multiple persons. Say for example 105, you will not have 2-3 persons, then it is going to be confusing for everyone. So one employee ID, you'll have one person to assign to it. So that's where employee ID need to be unique in sense, and that is where in the table employee ID will be called as primary key, which is not should not be null, and it should be unique as well. So that is considered as a primary key. So we'll see that as we progress. So that's about how to enter a select statement and then execute. I mean, you have an icon over here to run the query, and you get the result output at the bottom, query result at the bottom. So that's how the SQL developer works in its simplest form. So we'll see as we progress further on the select statement. Thank you. So welcome back. So the way I'm going to make the presentation is that initially I'll be discussing with the PowerPoint about various SQL statements, and then post that I also have a file on which different SQL statements will be there. So you can use that. I'll be using that to execute, but I'll not be, because it could be an exhaustive file. So whatever is critical, I'll be executing that. This is there, this is them for your practice. So the first one is retrieving data using the SQL statement, which we saw briefly. I mean, how to execute from a table, what you need to be done. So just a representation, you have projections. Projection meaning if you want to select all the columns, you can ignore one of the column, and that is just called as projections of a particular column in the table. And if you want to select all the rows, specific rows for a particular record, so that's a selection of all the data related to a particular row. So that's a selection. And you can also have a join condition. Suppose, and the join condition is where there need to be a common column through which you can link those two tables, and that's a join condition. And then you can, based on the need, you can get the data. For example, in employee table, if you look at it, generally you'll have a department ID, but department name might not be present there. Suppose for an employee, you want to get the department name, then you need to join the employee table with that of a department table, and the join condition will be, it is going to be the department ID. based on the department ID, you get the department name and the employee name. So you'll be joining the two tables. So that's the kind of a join condition. And this we saw earlier as well. I mean, we tried retrieving. The query is going to be mainly based on these tables, and this data structure. All the data, nested data, we have already have them on the database. We had installed the HR related data in the cloud instance. So you can access that cloud instance through the SQL developer, or you can use Oracle Apex, or you can use the web tool of the cloud itself to access them. The choice is yours, but yeah, it's better you start practicing with the SQL developer tool, so that that's where most of the, when you go for any kind of a career role, either the SQL developer are used, or something like another tool is called as TOAD, TOAD, that is mainly used. So get yourself practiced with those two tools, rather than, yeah, you can even use SQL Plus, which is a native tool of Oracle, but it doesn't come with a GUI as we have graphical user interface as we have seen with the SQL developer. So the SQL Plus is more of a character based, so ideally most people prefer to use either SQL developer or tools like TOAD. So the simple select statement, you know, right? I'm not going into the details. So the select column name from the table, so that's the basic select, and select star from we saw from the employees, and here it is department. And suppose if you want to have only two columns, you can do that. Now getting into some more details of it, you might have operators to add some values during retrieval, or multiply the values, subtract or divide. So you can use that in the SQL statement, something like salary plus 300 from employees. So this will add up, this is the salary over here, and salary plus 300 can be done. So it will add up the salary and provide you with the output. And then defining null, and then you can also multiply salary 12 times salary into commission percentage. You can multiply and get the result. And this is important, operator precedence, this is important. So last name salary, if you look at it, multiplication, I mean the earlier one, multiplication has higher, addition has the higher precedence, sorry, addition is the topmost one, then minus and subtract and divide. So that way, just think about it, think about this one, 12 times salary plus 100. So what happens is, here it is, first the multiplication happens 12 times salary, and then it goes into the addition, the plus, that's where you have this value. And whereas if you put a parenthesis over it, then salary plus the 100 and 12 times. So you can, if you want to get away with the precedence, you don't want, if you want to have your own precedence in place, then you need to have appropriate parenthesis in place. So you want this operation, the salary plus 100, to be done first, this operation to be done first, and then comes the 12 into multiplication happens. Whereas in this case, it's 12 times into salary plus then comes the addition. So you can also use the allies meaning instead of commission pact, you want something like commission, then this column allies, and you don't want to have last underscore name, you just want to replace with the name, then it is that's called the allies. And similarly, instead of salary into 12, you just want to say annual salary. So that way it is going to give you as annual salary. And similarly, if you want to have a join condition, then join the sense last employee is a job ID, meaning it gives Abel is a sales rep, is a clerk, and gives you the details. And distinct gives you a specific, if the table has multiple values of that particular multiple values of the same information, it gives you only, returns only one value specific, because we see there are department ID in employees, because each employee will have its department, and in an employee table multiple employees can be in one single department. That's where it is showing 1990, maybe employee Robert, maybe Guha and someone else, Rajan, might be all belong to a same department ID, but we still want to have only the specific department distinct, so that we use distinct. And finally, describe gives you the employee structure. So this is again the starting basic one. We will see that quickly in the demonstrations as well. As I'll show you you have the in the notepad, you have all the SQL statements, so you can use that and execute for your own practice. Thank you. Stay tuned. Welcome back. So let's now perform some of the hands-on based on the presentation. I will not be executing all of the queries. So you can try out, if you wish, you can try out each and every one of them. I would recommend, if you are a newcomer into the SQL Plus, I would always recommend to try out different options so that you get much more knowledgeable as far as the SQL is concerned. So the first one, we can try this one, which is the precedence. How it works, because the precedence here is the parenthesis which plays a critical role. Otherwise, as we discussed, it is going to perform 12 times the salary plus 100 is what it needs to perform. The first one, here it is. So if you execute this, so here 24,000 plus. So what had happened is initially it is multiplied with the salary, because that is the precedence which is happening, multiplication here one. But what if we give it, because if you want to work the way you want it, then you could use the parenthesis as appropriate. So if you execute this, then the what had happened is salary plus the 100, and then it has multiplied. The other one I just wanted to show is the column alias. So you want to substitute name with name, and salary multiplied by 12, as you want to have the display name as annual salary. So if you, that's an alias. So if you execute that, you have name, alias, and finally if you want to have describe, which gives the structure of the table structure as how are the columns. So for that you use the describe. If that's the command you got to use, describe. So this gives the how's the and if you look at it, employee is not null. Not null meaning it will not accept any null value inside that. If you don't give while inserting, if you don't insert a value, it will not allow you to insert into that table. So so that is what it indicates, and it is a number data type. On the top you have the data type. So this data type is number. This is a var character. It could be character or it could be even number. So varchar can be characters or number or alphanumeric, so whatever you wish to have. So that's the describe functions. The other way of looking at the tables, particularly in be it an SQL developer or be it with some other tools like the Toad, is that get into the database, get into the schema, and get into the particular employee and click on that. You'll get the column name, what is the data type, and here it mentions primary key, first name of the employee, not null. It all gives all the details, the comments. Of course, these are the comments which while creating the table, the developer could have put that comments as well as what it means, because at a later point of time someone can reference it to try to find out real meaning of that particular column. Then he can refer to the comments as well. So the others are there, like data into that, so you can know the data. You can further look at each of the, on the top, whatever it is, you can take a look. So this is the column, you have the data, and you have the structure as well. Of course, I clicked on the model. It took some time because that will give the database structure as such. I mean the join conditions and all you could see. And finally, yeah, you can check on this so that you'll have a little bit of understanding. But sometimes, like we have not discussed what is a constraint, and even the sequels, like create table. This is for the creation of the table, constraint, primary key, and all we have not discussed. But yeah, it could be, you can play around with it. You can check different tabs. That way, you'll get more used to the, not only to the tools, but also with the database as well. Database commands as well. So you need to really get your hands dirty to know more on the SQL statement. Thank you. Stay tuned.